Alrighty, boys. What a week. What a week it's been. And I don't mean Supercoach wise necessarily. I mean more just generally. What a week. It's been a big one. So last week, we're in the back of the Volkswagen Polo and we're hooked up via an extension cord to a meter box. And that's being filtered through the back of the hatch, weaseling its way through a whole heap of belongings, and then it's plugged in to the desktop computer that's basically taking up the spot where the passenger seat should be. And it's a nightmare, basically. But we are now in a far more grounded and permanent location, so that's really promising. We're in the rainforest, boys. That's where we want to be. That's where we are now. Don't have the greatest internet of all time, but it's a hell of a lot better than being where we were last week. And it's a massive upgrade. In fact, I'll paint a picture for you. I am now in a kind of like a granny flat. It's a self-contained environment, and it's a most beautiful place. It's what you would call rustic. It's old-fashioned, and it's got a whole heap of character. There's one light on at the moment, and it's a kaleidoscopic, floral, wonderful piece, hanging via a chain, and being illuminated by the light bulb, the floral and kaleidoscopic patterns that are quite colourful with red, yellow, blue, orange, and that's what's being used to basically light up the wood fire cabin type place that you would describe as cozy, wholesome, rustic, these types of words. And it's just got a whole lot of character, and everywhere you look there's something to captivate you, to draw you in and gain your attention, whether it be a painting on the wall, a teapot, what do you call that thing, like a vice is hanging up, various vases, ones of, Asian influence, ones that are just kind of like old but useful, and everything you could ever need, really, in a quite small and well-contained place. And it's all wooden. Everything's wooden. It's wonderful timber. I've been told it's timber from like the 1920s. Some pine has been used that is now extinct, so it's very rare and should be cared for, and it will be. So anyway, that's where I'm calling home for the time being, and perhaps a little bit longer, perhaps till the end of the season by the looks of things. And without further ado, I'll get into what's happening this week in terms of Supercoach. So I've scored a 2-5-2-1, which we are not particularly happy with, if I'm being totally honest. It's a bit of a disappointment overall. Sort of hoping for better. At this point in the season, I need better. I think there's only 7 rounds left, and I want to be top 2,000. And I'm going to need to get, I don't even know what the numbers are, but like 1,200 on average or something like that. Actually, it should be a little less than that. We'll just say about 1,000. A little over 1,000 per round. So we've underperformed with a 668. And if we go around the grounds, as we always do each week, unfortunately, the likes of NO, JD, and Supercoach George have had much better weeks than I. And I think I was ahead of JD, but now he has again leapfrogged me. So we're having a little bit of a back and forth, a bit of a, I'll hit him with a punch and he'll counterpunch me, and I'll then get ahead of him, and then he'll take me again. And then Supercoach George has basically gotten away. He had like a 2,700 week and was already in virtually the top 1%. And NO also had about a 2,700 week. He has Nick Dacos, who has had some sort of resurgence. He didn't actually get the points, but I sort of wish I kept Nick Dacos for that last bye round. It was always in the plans, and he obviously performed and has performed since. A little bit of me even would consider him this week, considering what I'm about to show you. let's have a look at the team. Big disappointment this week, and the one that, every now and then the week's going so well, and it's like, wow, I haven't got a bad score. This is going pretty well. If I don't get a bad score for the rest of the week, I'm going to get a good score, and it's just that simple. Sometimes, like, when someone goes like an 80 or a 90, like if I got a crisp 79, I don't think I would be that disappointed necessarily. I'd be like, oh yeah, not great, but those sorts of scores are going to happen. Parker got a 75 the other week. It's whatever. It's not a big deal. What is a big deal is when someone goes 18, particularly when you just brought them in that week, and it's the second time you brought them in for the season, and they've burnt you again. So this will be the haul in, haul out, fourth trade because of Aaron Hall. So he's getting beast. Now this is where I actually need probably a little bit of help from the boys. So I actually don't know what to do. I'm behind in the ranks, much further than where I'd like to be. However, just doing that little calculation before, about 1,000 per week is what we want. Do I need to get super aggressive? So I actually just watched Supercoach DR's video just before making this. And my narrative or general narrative for the season at the moment is you have to have Rory Laird and you have to have Jordan Dawson. But I just watched Supercoach DR's video, and interestingly, he doesn't have either of them. And he's like 2000th, ranked 2000, so he's in the top 1%, which is the ultimate goal. So if he, who is a person that is currently achieving my goal, ultimately, for this year, doesn't have Laird or Dawson, doesn't plan on bringing them in, and has 5 trades up his sleeve, do I have to bring them in? Because my original plan was this. My original plan was defender, 5-round average, Jordan Dawson. I mean, it's just ridiculous how he's done that. And then Malcolm Roses, for who I don't even care. I think I was going to do Cully. But the teams are out, so maybe that changes. We'll have a look at that in a sec. So this is my original plan, and this is what I'm going with at the moment. That gives me 2 trades for the last 7 weeks. Pretty sure there's 7 weeks left. Now that's risky. But JD only has 2 trades. George only has 2 trades. They're good players, and I wouldn't be the only one. So it makes me think maybe this is the right move. Look at what Jordan Dawson has done. Ton. 8 tons in a row. And a 140, 134, 144. What's he going to do against Hawthorn Collingwood? He's just looking too good back there. They're throwing him in defence pretty much full time. And he's racking up the ball, getting way too many disposals, even when they get on the end of a shellacking. Because he's getting all those kick-ins. And he's taking them exclusively now. So not having Jordan Dawson's really burning me, as well as Rory Laird, of course, but Jordan Dawson's the one that hurts a lot more than Laird, because he's a defender and he's racking up 5-round averages that are basically the best in the game. Top 5 out of everyone across all lines. So if he continues along that form, and he did have a very good form for Sydney at the end of last year, he's a must-have. You need to get him in, even at 626. He's virtually worth 650 to 700 because of the fact that he's a defender. So at the moment, this is what I'm doing. But let's have a look at the teams, and maybe that changes. Actually, I will just touch on this before that. Things that hurt this week were obviously Aaron Hall. That sucks. I was tossing up between him and Doherty, so it really only cost me 63 points. So I was like, yeah, whatever, 63 points, it's not the end of the world. But then I said I wanted to VC Clayton Oliver because I thought he was the one that you really wanted to have as captain this week, or the one just gone, and ended up going with Lachie Neale, which, there's 41 points. That sucks. So 41 points, 60-something points. If we had to go on an extra 100 points, we're actually probably ahead of JD and Caccianeno, which would be pretty fire. And then the other thing that hurt is Todd Goldstein. However, I looked at the CBAs. I was like, oh no, Toddy Goldstein, he's probably an absolute flop for the rest of the season now. A 55, that's so disappointing. Ever since Sherry got injured, he hasn't gone that badly since. So worst score for the season, basically, without the start of the season when he just wasn't getting the CBAs. But I had a look at the CBAs and he was 65%, which is where it needs to be. That's what we want. So I'm not totally hating on that. And then I had a look at the hitouts overall for Sherry, Goldstein, and Reece Stanley. The only people really to get any reasonable numbers, and they were way down. So I just think that when North Melbourne on the back of a absolute battering from Geelong, over 100 points, these guys, or just the way the game planned out, it wasn't a super highly contested game, I suppose. I suppose there was a lot of kicking around, and that meant less stoppages. That's what I presume. I didn't really watch the game. Who would want to watch that? Plus, Collingwood and Gold Coast was happening at that time, and classic Gold Coast, close but no cigar. That's Gold Coast to a T. Anyway, let's have a look. Tim English is back. So I've had Tim English, and if there's one curse that I am, I don't know, what would you say? I am living proof of this year is do not bring in a player that you already traded out to begin with. Okay? I've done it with Jack Steele, got injured. I did it with Max Gorney, got injured. I did it with Aaron Hawley, got injured. I don't think I've done it with a single other person. So if you want Tim English to get injured, recommend him, because I'll bring him in and that'll be curtains. Now, Tristan Sherry is injured, boys. I love that. Yes. Boys, that is the best news. Oh, that's terrible that I say that, but that is such good news. That is Christmas has come early. Oh, yes, boys. Sherry's injured. Oh, that's amazing. That is so good. I am absolutely stoked with that. How good's that, boys? Anyway, nothing else of interest. I don't think so. Oh, come on. That is good news. Come on, just give me all good news. Dion Presti is back. Oh, well, I thought that would mean Jaden Short did better. But he didn't. He's still getting named. Why don't they just put him in the back? Put him in the back line already. That's where he belongs. That's where he gets his customary 30 disposals a game. Him getting 20, 25 every game just isn't working. Although, they are versing Gold Coast, so we'll see what happens there. Zach Butter's back. We all know we've had a tumultuous history with Zach Butters. But he's not half bad, that bloke. He's not half bad. I don't think that anything here really matters. Looks like Jacob Ware's been keeping his spot. He went like 89 or 88 last week, which is pretty fire for him. Hunter Clark injured. Not that we even needed anything to benefit Sinclair anymore. I mean, I'll tell you what. I watched that game. Been watching the Thursday games. They've been bloody brilliant, I'll tell you that. Now, Jack Sinclair, I think, when I was watching him, he's on another level. And sometimes players get on this super sick level where they can't miss. They're in like, I don't like to say it, but they're in God mode. And they're just on this level that's like, they're enlightened out there. And he's just hitting targets like he can't miss them. I think he made one clanger, but it was like, you just looked at his face and he didn't even care. He was like, whatever. I think Adam Sard picked him off and ran forward, and then it was set up for a goal. But other than that, this guy was just clinical. And it's special to watch someone in this sort of vein of form, particularly someone who's been around for a while and just hasn't like reached that elite level. He's a lock all Australian this year. What a story. And I'm stoked to have him in my team. I just watch him and I'm just like, damn, that's sick. Which is hopefully the case when I bring in Jordan Dawson. So Jai Culley's probably an emergency, not going to play like last week. Although Zane True, I think, was not super great, so we'll see what happens. I don't think there's anyone that's like a new guy that would be a 102k fella, which is all I'd be interested in bringing in. Although Jai Sarong maybe. Oh no, it's emergencies. Anyway, I don't think there's anything of any severe note, but I might refresh this, and hopefully that gives me those fabled green ticks. So like I said, the internet is not the best ever, but I tell you what, for where I am and the things I'm foregoing on versus what I'm gaining, can't complain. So this is what we're looking at this week. We're going to bring Touk Miller back in, obviously. Look at that midfield bench. What a joke. Anyway, because of Jacob Ware, we're actually all good for cover across the board. I'd expect Connor McDonald to probably play, even though he's been named as an emergency, but Toddy Goldstein solo rucking, that is a blessing, especially now that Tim English is back. Everyone's going to have him. All right, so I think this is what I'm going to go with. However, I am tempted to not get rid of Roses, and then basically just bring in... I guess it's quicker to just undo the changes, but and just bring in a single defender. But I'll tell you why I'm leaning against it. And I seriously, when I say this, please provide me with some advice. If you've got a suggestion, hit me up, man, because I'm definitely not totally certain about this. If this was DR, he would just do a single trade. And I believe that would be his advice. And I think he's a guy that you can... He makes safe, well-calculated, smart choices every time. However, he does have Nankervis in his... which turned out to be a great pick over Wits, which is an astonishing move. That's certainly not safe, I wouldn't say. But it worked out. And it's... You can't knock it because it's worked. Now, Bailey Dale is the guy of the options. If I was doing a single trade, I'd be bringing in. I mean, 106 average, I think, would have been the highest average of any defender last year, possibly minus whoever was the highest averaging defender, which I think might have been Jake Lloyd last year. He might have been like a 107 or something like that. So the fact that he's 8th, he's 7th this year with that average is unbelievable. Or I could bring in Sam Doherty. So, that's tough because I feel like Doherty and Dawson, Dawson's just crushing it. So, I would have liked to think that they would be kind of like competitive, but not really. So we're looking at, I think I'd go Bailey Dale because of that extra little money that I get. Then I'm sort of looking at the possibility of a Cornelio to English. English should come down this week. Or maybe if Short can get his shit together, swapping him for someone who's not crap like him. But we'll see. So please give me some advice because there is a possibility. I think I'm leaning towards Bailey Dale over Doherty purely for that a little bit of extra money in the event that I have to sideways. Because, and yeah, to that point, what I was just about to say, because... what's the point of having 18,900 and that's it? Or if you go Doherty, for example, to stress this point even further, if you've only got 5,600, and just make sure the time's all good, which it is, if you've only got 5,600, like, are you gonna have to do a double trade anyway just to bring in a replacement? And if that's the case, then you might as well just do it now. Otherwise, you're going to be bringing in an absolute flop anyways, right? So that's the reason why I think I'm just going to pull the trigger on doing the downgrade immediately. And then hopefully, at the end of the season, I'm able to make some of those luxury trades and do something like a Cripps to Laird. Oh, that would be amazing. Or we'll see how Goldstein goes. Now he's solo rucking. Okay, let's have a look at the extent of this Sherry injury. This is big. Come on, Sherry. I don't want to wish poorly on him, but I kind of hope he's done his ACL. Like, that sounds really bad, but I'd be cheering if he's done that. Okay, what's it going to be? Has been blah, blah, blah. Yo, where's the 5 weeks? That's about as good as it gets, boys. That's about as good as it gets, boys. That's pretty much for the rest of the season. In fact, if I do have a luxury trade left, then I would be using it at that time anyway. So that's pretty much as good as it can get. If Sherry comes back and Goldstein's like worth a heap of money, and I just sideways him because I've got one trade left, that'd be so sweet. Oh, that's amazing. But you know what? Now that I say that, that kind of mitigates the chances of really needing that much money potentially. But no, you can't plan that far ahead. That's just ridiculous. So we're gonna go. Oh, that is. I think I'll just take it as a blessing, as messed up as that sounds. And I think I'm gonna go Jordan Dawson. I need to get aggressive. I'm well behind the pack right now. If I had Jordan Dawson instead for the last however many weeks, I would actually be probably top 5k for sure. So I wish I did this last week, obviously. Then I would have had 3 trades, and that's kind of sitting pretty. But, get burnt, you get burnt, and that's what happens. You take the big risk on Aaron Hall. It was always a big risk. And I said, I've got the trades to deal with it. It's all good. But I never thought I'd end up using 2 trades just to get rid of him. So that was kind of stupid and a big mistake. Okay, captains. To finish it off, boys, what are we looking at? What would you do if you were choosing captains? Remember that we're not going for any curly ones anymore. So we're saying no to Darcy Parish. We're saying no to Sam Welsh. Although Sam Welsh has West Coast. That is a match made in heaven for Sam Welsh, is it not? Oh, that is a captaincy gamble that could well pay off, but we're not going to do that. We just brought in Jordan Dawson. Maybe we'll do him against Hawthorn at Marvel. I like that, but I'm definitely not going to do that. So I think you have to VC Oliver, although Geelong are very good at limiting players that can potentially get off the chain. However, because of Christian Petrarca, sometimes he kind of, creates a bit of a smoke screen, and he can draw a bit of attention away from Oliver. Chris Scott, what's he going to do? He's probably going to be like, look, I actually watch football. I actually well versed in what's going on, and I'm just going to give attention to Clayton Oliver. So I think he's a must VC. Everyone's going to do it, and you don't want to get burnt on that. But I actually think, last week, Clayton Oliver was the obvious option against Adelaide. Went 200 last year, goes 176 this year. You just had to do it. Obviously, Neil gets to 135, and it's like basically one of the worst scores that can happen. If Neil goes 125, I wouldn't have taken it. But he goes 135. It's like, well, it's above average. Don't want to be greedy. Imagine if Oliver went 80 and how pissed off I'd be. And then he goes 176, this is how messed up that is almost as bad as him as captaining Oliver. If he went 80, I would have lost 55 points. And then he goes 176, so I lose 41 points, which is, like I said, almost as bad. Which is, saying that out loud, it kind of hurts. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Hopefully Cripps can bounce back as well against West Coast. Bit of an easy game, as well as him returning home to his home state. So that's probably a good place to wrap it up, although I haven't decided who I'm going to put the C on. Miller's always actually tempting, because he has that big score in him. I reckon a lot of people won't pick Took Miller next year. I reckon I'll pick him. I've been happy with Took Miller. 117 average. Had a few stinkers. Had a few opportunities for other people to pick him up cheap. But, he's been good. He's been a great starting pick in my opinion. 117. Can't ask for too much more than that. Obviously you wanted him to go 120 plus, but we'll see what happens next year. I think I'll be picking him. I think he's underperformed and he can do better. You just watch him run around and it's like, how are you going to defend that? How are you going to defend that? This is what my heart says. My heart says VC McRae. And to captain Neil against Essendon. And now that is a match made in heaven. This is what my heart says. That is what my heart says. I just feel like McRae, for some reason, at the SCG. Let's have a look. Let's have a look if he's played at the... Oh, look at those shit scores. Okay. Forget the heart, boys. Go with the head. It's Oliver Neil all day these days. So we're going to VC Oliver, Captain Neil. I mean, let's have a look. What did Chris Scott do for him last time? 159, 130. So, who cares? Oliver's the choice. VC Oliver, Captain Neil. Perfect. You always prefer to have VC these days on Oliver, just because you know you can burn you with the C. So, with the wrap up, what are we looking at? We're looking at last game of the round is where my round will hopefully hinge. We've got Sherry out. That is fantastic news. Poor Sherry. I feel bad for the guy, obviously, but Todd Goldstein solo rucking. That is what I needed. That's what we needed, boys. So happy with that. Please tell me if you have any suggestions in regards to my trade. Going down to 2 trades, it's 7 games left. I know I could get burnt, but I kind of look at it like I need to take some risks. I don't like it, believe me. I would love to have 3 trades, and it's very possible it comes back to bite me, but need to get aggressive. George has 2 trades. JD has 2 trades. I'm only going down to as much as what they have, and I think I'm now in a better position than JD. However, they have English, and that could burn me, but Todd Goldstein just got solo ruck, boys, and that changes things. That is a game changer, so I'm not hating that at all. All right. So we're hoping that the week hinges on the final game. A bit of Sam Walsh, George Hewitt, Patrick Cripps action. Mainly Sam Walsh. Everyone has Hewitt and Cripps. Although Cripps is slowly falling out of squads. I think, let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at where Cripps is at. 58%. And he's come down from, so pretty much no one's even gotten rid of him. That's a big surprise, but maybe this week might be different since he's kind of hasn't turned up for 3 weeks. So you might see a lot of people trade Cripps out this week. And what we want is for those people to get burnt. I like the West Coast matchup. I think Walsh and Cripps can both go big in this game. That hasn't happened for a long time, but we're hoping that it happens this week, boys. Georgie Hewitt, everyone has him. Everyone that's like kind of matters has him. He's also at 58%, but I'd say he's actually probably more highly owned in the top echelon of super coaches than P. Cripps. Like everyone obviously was going to pick P. Cripps, even those people with those throwaway teams, whereas George Hewitt would have been less popular. It's kind of like a Sicily in that sense, as in Sicily would have been popular because more people just know him. Anyway, we're thinking that it might rest on that game, so we're hoping for a big one out of those 3. So I hope that your week goes very well, boys, and I wish you all the best. Please, if you've got some suggestions in terms of my defensive trade, let me know. I don't think that any of the relevant players are playing straight away. Who's it? Melbourne and Geelong. No, Geelong don't even have a single relevant player this year. That is crazy, isn't it? Isn't that crazy? Paddy Dangerfield. At least I get to watch him play. Like, it's just cool to still see him out there. What a beast Paddy Dangerfield's been. But it's a shame that he's just not the man he used to be. He used to be like Supercoach top, maybe even top number 1 at one point. When those Brownlow years, But at least he's still going around. Looking forward to the game. How good is it to have Thursday night footy on, boys? Tell you what, it's a privilege to watch it, particularly when you've been on the journey I've been on the last week or 2. I tell you what, lads, I've been away from technology, to say the least. And the fact that I can be so far away from society and just sit down in a most comfortable chair with a roof over my head in a beautiful cabin, light the fire, boys. Light the fire. It's going to be a good time. Sit down and you just lose yourself for a little while. Watch the footy. How good is it? How good is it? It doesn't get much better than that. So what a joy it will be. What a joy the game tonight, Melbourne versus Geelong. That really is a top of the table. I'll tell you what, I looked at the odds today, boys. It's the 2 top teams in terms of the odds to win the flag this year. So they've kicked Brisbane off the pedestal after they were actually going out of the buys, team number 1, going up against Melbourne. Melbourne spanked them. Now it's Geelong are actually the number 2 team, most likely to win the title for AFL this year. It'll be a very interesting game. I'll tell you what, before I looked at the odds, I thought to myself, Geelong have really had that steely determination this year, and it's been extremely impressive. Extremely impressive. Whenever they've been in a dogfight to win at the end of a game, I think it happened against Richmond, I think it happened against Brisbane, teams like that. When those teams have come back into the fight, Geelong have stayed strong, they've remained steadfast, and they've found a way to victory. And maybe that will be the story for tonight's game. We'll have to wait and see. I hope it is. I hope that Geelong give them a bloody good fight, and that's what I'm hoping for. If their odds were better, I don't bet, but if their odds were better, I would be pretending that I'd bet on them. I'd be like, well, that's what I'd do if I was a bettor, but I'm not. But if you are, good luck to you. I wouldn't put money on Geelong because they're like $1.80 something. I think like sports bet odds are so shit. Literally, both teams are below $2, and it's like, bro, that's not even fair. Those are the shittest odds ever when you see that. But nevertheless, I think Geelong are a good chance, but definitely not less than $2 to 1 chance. So we'll see what happens. Hoping for a fiery contest. It usually is with Jeremy Cameron. He's actually a pretty awesome player to watch. He's entertaining. He gets into them. He's a bit of a scumbag at times, but it makes for a good watch. And that's what it's all about, boys. So enjoy tonight. I'm going to enjoy it. Let's go Clayton Oliver. Get a big fat VC. Make Chris Scott look like an absolute bum. Make him regret changing his look and being all, oh mate, I'm actually sophisticated now that I have this beard. Yeah, it's called being a hipster, and I've adopted it, and look at me. My life's changed, and now I'm a rugged, handsome man all of a sudden. And check out all this positive feedback I'm getting. It's awesome. And then Brett Ratton's like, hey, tell you what, Chris Scott's on the bandwagon. I might do that same thing. Look how sophisticated I am. It's like, Brett Ratton, you're the least sophisticated guy out here. All we need to do is hear 2 words out of your mouth to know that beer's a joke. Anyway, I've gone too far with that. I actually like Brett Ratton. He's been through a lot, that guy, and he's a great man. And I wish him the best. I was gutted when he got sacked at Carlton, but glad that he's doing some good things at St Kilda, and hope they make the top 8 purely for his sake. So come on, Brett Ratton, it's all about top 8, mate. If you can get a big win against Fremantle, it'd be an incredible victory for you and for what you've been through and your family, and couldn't wish it on a better bloke. So good luck, Brett Ratton, and that's the story of this round. Cheers, boys.